What is gravy, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Crisis Core Reunion's Platinum Trophy was one of the most infuriating things I have ever experienced, and it actually breaks my heart. Everything kicks off fairly straightforward. You get a trophy for finishing the first fight, you get a trophy for using your first limit break, and then one for finishing the prologue. But from chapter 1 onwards, you need to be ready for the plethora of missable trophies this game has to offer. There's no chapter select, and I'd say a good 28 of the 51 trophies are missable in some way, shape or form. Whether they're tied to minigames or rely on you speaking to certain NPCs, if you miss it and don't have a manual save for that chapter, you're screwed. So naturally I pulled up a guide to make sure I got everything first time, and it's a good job because I doubt I'd have had the patience to put any more time into this game. But we'll get to that. Anyway, I then got my first taste of the game's side missions, something I will have to get very accustomed to, as well as my first minigame, which honestly wasn't too bad, for picking up some trinkets in Minerva and escaping an airstrike. Chapter 3 was largely the same trophy-wise, which wasn't so bad as the main reason I wanted to play the game was the story. It's quite clear from the gameplay that this was originally released on the PSP and not a whole lot has been changed, but given how much I loved 7 Remake, I just had to know more about Zack. However, when it comes to chapter 4, there are 7 missable trophies in that one chapter. The first 3 trophies are pretty much necessary in order to unlock the 4th too, as Aerith's affection towards Zack is based on not only how you respond to certain characters, but also how well you do in each of the 3 minigames. What's even more annoying is that you won't know if you've done it right until you're leaving Sector 5. So if you've messed something up, then you're pretty much going back to the start. The other 3 are all obtained while you're inside the fusion chamber protecting Hojo, and none of these are that hard, even the one with the time limit is pretty doable. For me, the first challenging trophy comes in chapter 5, and if you've done the pull up or squat minigame in Final Fantasy VII Remake, then you likely understand the pain. But I also took the opportunity here to clear off some of the missable missions, before sneaking into the Mako facility with Cloud and confronting Genesis. Now for the next few chapters everything was going rather smoothly. I was progressing the story, popping miscellaneous trophies, and generally having a good time with the game. I even took some well-deserved time with Aerith to finally build her that flower wagon she wanted. Or 3 of them. And then I reached Nibelheim. And if you know, you know. But if you don't, this is where that infamous shot of Sephiroth standing in front of the flames comes from. Yeah, shit gets intense. But I still made time to find 7 wonders that some random kid mentioned, and after that it was time to make our escape with Cloud, getting our sniper on in the process, and rounding out chapter 9 by collecting some chests in a waterfall for some reason. And so I reached chapter 10, the final chapter. Or as it would later come to be known by me, the point where everything falls off a cliff. If you saw my last video about frustrating trophies, then you likely already know what I'm getting at. But in case you didn't, please allow past me to catch you up. The mission completionist trophy tasks you with completing all the missions available to Zack throughout the game. However, there are a total of 300 of them, and most of them aren't exactly what you would call fun. Oh, and some of them are missable too. Okay, right, to put all that into context, these are my save files from the game. The save file for the end of chapter 9, right? The entire game up until the end of chapter 9, all the missable stuff, everything we've talked about so far, 17 hours, right? If you can guess how long it took for the next save file, I'll be genuinely shocked. You've either skipped ahead in the video, or you're psychic, or you can just tell from my anger and give it a good educated guess. You ready? Have you had your guess? Have you put it in the comments? Okay. If you said 44 hours, you were correct. 44 hours. From 17 to 44. I just can't. I literally just can't. 27 hours. 27 hours of tedious, grinding, boring, repetitive side missions, fighting enemies that I genuinely have seen 1,000 times at that point with different coloured hair. Just the most mind-numbingly boring tat you have ever experienced in a game. Remember that I said there was 300 of those missions. 300 of them. And the problem is that this time on the screen right now isn't necessarily how long it takes to do the actual missions themselves. The problem is, one of the missions for fighting a super boss requires you to basically max out your stats. And that requires so much farming, so much grinding, that it actually makes me a little bit sick. These were my stats at the end of chapter 9. A reasonably respectable level 30, decent HP but nothing really to write home about, and the same could be said for my equipment and materia setup. But compare that to my stats after finishing all of the side missions and, well, yeah, it's a pretty big leap, let's not mince words. The main way to get your stats this high is to add stat boosts onto your materia after getting specific items that allow you to go above the stat limits the game sets. And the fastest way to get those stat boosts is to farm this one specific mission for rare items, then use these items to fuse a bunch of materia. Think about it, all of this grinding, all of those missions, simply to face off against one enemy in a game that should theoretically be 20 hours long. And the main point of all of this is because the super boss, Minerva, has 10 million HP. 10 million. She can also do a hell of a lot of damage with basically every attack that she does. If you didn't have break damage, break HP, whatever the hell it is, you get one shot by literally everything she has. Everything she attacks you with does more than 10,000 HP damage. That's just a fact. Some of them can do 55, 60,000. Some of them would probably do more if you didn't quite have the stats. She could probably do 99,999 damage to you. And obviously, Final Fantasy games have super bosses. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do, but think about it. Those games are routinely 50, 60, 70, upwards of 80 hours long sometimes. This is less than 20. That is the difference. That is the clincher and why I'm so annoyed with this platinum. Is because it just doesn't respect your time at all. In any way, shape or form. The game itself is fun. I really did enjoy the game. But this is too far. Obviously, I redid the fight for this video. This is the second time I've done it. You're watching it right now, and it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous how they've managed to fit this in a game this short and thought it was a good idea. Now, I've talked in the past and I've talked in the last video. Obviously, I know this used to be a PSP game, and they had to somehow extend the playtime. Sure, why not? But this, this is there's not even words. There is not even words. And I haven't even talked about the randomness of the DMW, you know, the RNG related thing that you have to see all of these cutscenes for that may or may not appear in order to max it out. I haven't even talked about that. But at least the ordeal was done. I'd earned the majority of the remaining trophies. All that was left was to switch to hard mode, beat the final boss and earn the platinum trophy. Surely that would be enjoyable, right? Now, if you care about spoilers for the final boss of the game, I mean, you probably wouldn't have watched this far if you didn't want to spoil the game, but besides the point, look away now, because I'm going to show you the final boss. Because of the fact I wanted to do this in one playthrough and therefore had already wiped my ass with Minerva, I absolutely breezed through this final boss like he wasn't even there. Even the fact that I would put the game on hard to get the Soldier of Legend trophy didn't seem to make a difference. The first phase is fairly tanky, sure, but it doesn't last long enough to do anything really significant, and I could heal through everything he threw at me with ease. And if that wasn't bad enough, the second phase is a one-on-one with Genesis, who has less health than the first phase. Honestly, after everything we've been through, grinding out all of those levels and doing those missions, I was ready for a really good Final Fantasy ending. What I got was a joke. Seriously though, there are many examples out there of games that the Platinum Trophy just ruins it. And this is possibly, for me at least, the most egregious example of that. The game itself and the story are really good, and I really did enjoy them. But the Platinum Trophy just simply ruins it. I know, Plat Dad, I know you're really disappointed that I didn't enjoy this, but I could not in good faith tell someone to go for this, knowing how much I hated it. And so that is going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you want to watch another Platinum video, there is one right there. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I shall catch you all next time. hopefully in a better game.